Hello. Are we good for him to start today? Okay. Oh, it's fine. It's not bothering me at all. Do you want to keep looking at it? Okay. Okay. Hello. Welcome. Thanks so much for staying after the pageant. We're excited to have the congregational meeting this morning, and we're going to make it as painless as possible. So one thing we wanted to do to start the meeting today is we wanted to share this video that all of our membership actually goes through. It's something that was recently put together, and we thought that this would be a good way to come together this morning and kind of kick things off.
Central to the UU faith is the concept of covenant, a term that carries profound significance within this community. Unlike a rigid dogma or creed, covenant in Unitarian Universalism serves as a guiding principle, fostering inclusive relationships, mutual respect, and shared commitments. At its core, covenant in Unitarian Universalism emphasizes the power of relationships and the shared responsibilities that bind a community together. Covenant is not a set of rules or beliefs imposed from above, but rather an intentional agreement among individuals and congregations to uphold certain values and principles. It recognizes the inherent worth and dignity of every person and seeks to create a supportive and inclusive community where individuals can explore their spiritual paths freely. UU covenants are created collaboratively through a democratic and participatory process. Covenant encourages open dialogue, active listening, direct communication, and the resolution of conflicts in a spirit of understanding and reconciliation. By engaging in covenantal relationships, individuals are challenged to confront their biases, expand their perspectives, and grow in empathy and understanding. Covenant inspires a sense of belonging, fostering an environment where people feel supported, valued, and encouraged to live their truth authentically. Covenant, as practiced within Unitarian Universalism, is a powerful tool for building healthy communities and fostering a more just and compassionate world.
I think the video sums up a lot of our year, actually, but this is another snapshot of all of the work that we've done as a congregation this year. And I didn't want to read line by line, but we've had over 20 events for the whole church. We have small groups, or the journey circles. We have soulful parenting, young adults. We have Wellspring group. We have a lot of things going on here, and it's all thanks to you all. We also had Runfest in the Fall Festival this year, and we had over 500 people on the grounds for both of those. Congregational life is blooming with tons of events, and the pastoral care has resources of, the team is up now 25, and they've done over 56 touch points to the congregation. So we've done a lot of good this year, and I just wanted to touch on some of them. And then I'm going to invite Sue up to talk about her favorite thing, bathrooms.
What a reputation. Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Buckley. I'm in my second year as a trustee of the board here at Live Oak, and I have been entrusted to kind of oversee the remodel of our bathrooms. The building is 40 years old, and they've never been touched. The upstairs bathroom was the first project, thinking it was the simplest of them, and it did turn out to be that. We basically cleaned them up, put new fixtures in, flooring, paint, lighting, and they look terrific, and they're done. And everyone who uses them appreciates it. So the next focus will be the fellowship hall bathrooms. They are going to become wheelchair accessible by taking the back stall, the only stall in the men's bathroom, and the back stall in the women's bathroom, and hanging a partition that goes across the width of the room so that you can open it and have 360 degrees to make a pivot with a wheelchair. New fixtures, new flooring, new paint, sinks at 2 levels so that a wheelchair can pull up and wash their hands, and kids can use. To start in March. The contractor, we have a contract, should be coming this week, same one that did the upstairs bathrooms. They were willing to be frugal with us. I had another contractor come in to offer a bid, and his first response was, oh, we have to change, we have to replace all of these partitions. Well, that's probably at least $5,000 to $6,000 more. Where the current contractor said, oh, we can work with these, we can remount them, and so I'm willing to work with them again. They were fine. So it started in March. The contractor will begin to assemble all the materials so that when they start in the first week in March, they're good to go. And I do have it on good authority that they'll be done in a month. Shall we make a bet on that? So that's the scoop on the fellowship hall bathrooms. It will be a great improvement to our facility and our congregation and our values to say that we have wheelchair accessible men and women's bathrooms. All right, questions, anybody? Yes.
We're not talking about these ones, right?
No, those are about a year away. Those are going to be a little more complicated.
Sue, do you have the handheld?
Do I have a handheld? Handheld what?
Mike.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. I don't think that. Barbara?
I thought one of the bathrooms was unisex.
And the other one
It's
was,
going to be the bathrooms off of the Welcome Center. It's going to be the bathrooms off of the Welcome Center.
okay, so that's going back to a men's and a women's
Right.
there. Okay.
Right. And the family bathroom will be the current men's bathroom off the Welcome Center next year in 2026, probably.
Okay, all right. And what's going to happen in that interim time for families that need it? They're just going to go into one of the other bathrooms?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not ideal, but
The men's front bathroom will have a lock.
yeah.
And so it can be used in that way.
To say, my brother owns Austin's Best Plumbing, and he's offered to do some of the
mic.
plumbing work too. So,
Okay.
yeah, just
All right.
comment.
Thank you. Well, all the plumbing,
Repeat that, please.
this gentleman has a brother who's a plumber. God bless him. And all the plumbing work is kind of rolled into the bid contract. But certainly there are other plumbing needs.
It might be worth considering when we do the next one a year down the road.
Good point. Yes.
Maybe for that one.
Yeah. Good point.
And
Not to mention, we love plumbers around
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
We have many opportunities to invite plumbers here.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I'd say, so like when I heard about the grease trap, he was gonna come look at it, but I guess Tim got it fixed.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's-
A miracle happened. And instead of having having to resect the big length of pipe, it was just an obstruction. A piece of wood was in there. So,
and sorry for the confusion. I think we're going to have questions later at the end more. But
okay, all right. Thank you, everybody.
Ooh, and now I'm going to invite Joel to speak about our website updates. Okay.
You might have to come running.
Oh yeah, because he's doing live stream. Yeah.
While you're doing that, while we're waiting.
Here he comes. Sprinting.
While Joel comes up, I forgot to introduce the board at the beginning of the meeting. So I would like to introduce our board of directors for this year. We have Mark, Catherine. Oh, did you want to stand up? You can stand up.
I'll stand up.
Dan.
I'm not willing or
Dan, Sue, Becky, and myself.
Lee Collins.
Oh, and Lee Collins as well.
Does everyone know our titles, our roles, or do we need to tell them that? No.
We know your next on the website.
Hey.
So one thing too is I'm operating the live stream. Just as a kind of FYI, please speak into the mic because we can't hear you on the live stream as well. Okay, so I became a member of the website team this year, partially because I exceeded my quota of requests for the website. And so if you do that, then you become a member of the website team. So I think that there's been a lot of great improvements to the website team as well. Our focus has been to make it more visual with more pictures and images and stuff that can kind of really engage people and make it a little bit more clear when you're walking through the website. We worked a little bit on the organization of the website to kind of make it more user-friendly for people that are visiting. I was also going to say that we also have been working to make the information more current and accurate as well. There was kind of a lot of outdated information, so we've been working on it. So, please take a look at the website. And a couple things is we always are open for people to request changes to the website, and there's actually a request form at the homepage as well. We do know that, with websites, there's always improvements that need to be made, and we realize that, and sometimes you don't realize that until people make comments, so please make comments. I think one of the big improvements that we're making is on the calendar system. We recognize that there's probably things that need to be improvement on the calendar system. It's not as easy as it looks, but we're definitely working on it as well. And that is it for the website.
Thank you, Joel. And I do want to see that Joel put so much time and effort into this. One of the biggest things I'd like to note is we have a donate button on the homepage now, and that's because of Joel. So people can actually find it without having to go through a whole menu, and that's a big deal. And Eileen as well, thank you so much for helping Joel with all the videos. And now I get to share with Becky.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Wanted to go over a little bit of business, and then we'll talk about the budget, and then we will work our way toward voting on the budget. I wanted to show you these numbers. The display is a little hampered by the limitations on me and Wayne's skills. So I'm going to kind of walk you through it. We couldn't even figure out how to change colors, but that's maybe in a few years we'll learn. This is showing our membership beginning in 2020. You can see, if you can see it, I don't know how light or dark it is to the rest of you, but obviously the pandemic hurt, and our membership dropped down to just to 141 by 2022. Went up in 2023. Joel, who by the way has got to be the hardest working past president that this church may have ever had, but when he was president, we kind of informally established a goal of 10% membership increase each year. So 2023, we had 154 members. This year, we have the 2024 projected, based on 10%, would have been 169. Instead, we're at 176. We've added 36 members this year, which is pretty unprecedented, and I want to give a giant shout out to membership committee. They work constantly at this and have made so many improvements in how we reach out to people, how we introduce people to the church, how we follow up with people. It's really made a difference, and it shows in the numbers. But continuing the 10% from 2023, we would be, if we could keep this going, we would be over 200 in a couple of years. But we're running ahead of that pace, so maybe we'll do even better. Okay, so I'm told that down means up here, right?
Down.
It's so UU, right? Okay. There we go. Okay. So this is the budget for next year. The board has voted to bring this budget to the congregation. It is what you will be voting on today. We are anticipating campus cost of about $102,450. In past years, our rentals have covered the cost of, generally speaking, the building costs, and we've been very fortunate to have this building and its popularity as a rental. However, we lost some rental income this year, just having to do with a particular renter who needed less space. So as you'll see on the next slide, we will face a bit of a loss there. Our mission costs, and let me back up. This is not every single thing. The budget is many, many lines long in details, but generally campus costs are insuring the building, building and grounds, inspections, which are, we just mentioned that because it's just a weird, expensive thing that happens. You have to have your fire systems inspected. You need to have other things inspected, and those inspections are quite expensive. And of course, paying utilities to keep the building lit and warm or cold or whatever we need it to be. Mission cost is, generally speaking, everything else. It's our programs, it's our salaries, because at a church, your staff primarily are your programs. They produce the programs. It's congregational life events, membership committees, expenses, RE programming, and salaries. We are including a 2.5% cost of living increase for staff this year. It is not what we wish for, because generally our staff salaries are below the norm, and we would hope to start seeing some more improvement on being able to raise those. But the mission cost will run us about $302,000, as you can see. This is where money comes from. In case anyone is new or hasn't understood it, we get money from nothing else but these categories of member pledges, non-pledge donations of various sorts. We are budgeting $15,000 for an aggressive year of fundraising, and then other assorted income, interest on accounts, things like that. Our rentals will bring in about $100,000 this year. We are raising some rental rates to try to bring in more money, and because we think our rates have been a bit low, but we'll see how that goes. But we hope to shore that up. So I couldn't figure out how to underline anything on this stupid slideshow. And at some point, I get embarrassed to keep asking Crystal to do it for me. So I skipped this one because I thought it was easy enough. So take church expenses minus church income, and we end up with a deficit of about $17,363. The good news is that when we first started working on the budget, the deficit was $42,000. The Finance Committee got together and made some really excellent recommendations to us, and we have been able to pull that down. So I wanted to go over these things, and then I wanted to ask you to think about some things. We want to enter into January with a season of renewal. We will be asking all members to recommit for their financial pledge to the church. I wanted to give you some perspective on what it costs to run this church and to provide everything here that you partake in, that you enjoy, that you count on, that your children benefit from. The annual cost per member to fund our mission, I'm separating out the building at this point because we have the rentals to mostly cover that. The annual cost per member just to fund our missions is $1,800 a year. For a household with 2 adults, that would be about $3,600. But if you break that down per week per member, $34. Not everyone can do that. Some people can do more, but we wanted to give you some kind of perspective on the cost of funding this church. We've ended up with this deficit, which is far less than last year, but it's results primarily from a loss in rental income and to some degree pledges, promises for financial commitments that either didn't come in at all or were not paid in full. So we are asking you to pay any balances you have for 2024. Barbara Collarn, our assistant treasurer, sends out, there she is, sends out statements to everyone. You should be getting it. If you look at it, it will show what you pledged and how much you have paid on that promise for this year. That will help us finish this year strong. Then we'll be asking in January for you to recommit so that we have a new, accurate assessment of our donations. And we will be asking you to increase your pledge because utilities go up. We want to give raises to our staff. Every plumber that walks in this building is well paid if you're looking for a new career. So I don't want to minimize the importance of pledges and fundraising. It is no church exists without it. We don't have, a Vatican sending us any kind of funds. We don't, we send money to UUA. They don't send money to us. We fund our own church, and we get what we pay for, is what that amounts to. But I was feeling kind of discouraged about getting up here and talking about how we can, drag another $17,000 out of people. And the reason that felt discouraging to me is that I think that it is, to talk about making up the deficit is to horribly miss what I think our calling is as a church. And it's a pivotal time in Texas and in this country. It sometimes feels like we are one of the few organized communities or institutions in this area or in Texas to highlight and speak up for and show with our actions a different set of values than we sometimes see reflected in the rhetoric in this country. I feel sometimes like Unitarians are, out in the suburbs hiding their light under a bushel. And that's just a mistake. It's a mistake, and it's not what I think we need to be doing as good people who want to do good work. We already do some terrific outreaches. Fresh Food for Fridays is just fabulous, and it's so needed, and it's so obvious when you're here doing it. The people who do that see it every time. We have ESL and ABE, and these classes, which are just full to the brink, in January we'll be telling you more details about these programs, but ABE and ESL changes lives. People get better jobs. They are less income restricted. They can provide better for the next generation and their families. So these are the kinds of things that perfectly reflect, what we want to say in the world. But I think we can do more. I think we need to step up. I think we need to feel invigorated. I think we need to put our money and our time into improving our community and put it into service for our community. We have had these programs for several years, at least the years that I've been here. I wonder if we can think about more. Could we, do something to reduce medical debt, which is a huge problem for struggling families? I think, am I correct, it's the number one reason families declare bankruptcy, if I'm remembering that correctly. Could we adopt a Title I school in Leander and provide a book for every child in that school to take home? This was done through my workplace in another city, and it's an amazing thing because there are a lot of kids who don't have a nice book to keep at their home, and they're astounded that they have been given a book that is their very own, that their name can be written in that book. Could we encourage friendships and learning by sending our RE kids on a free field trip, or send adults on a bus trip to a museum or something like that? These are things that will enrich our community, enrich our lives. There's a new shelter for people who have been experiencing homelessness over on Pecan Park Boulevard. Can we hook up with that operation in some way to provide help? And so to do these things, which I feel are really our calling and really, really important right now, and would show what Live Oak is in this community, we need more money, but we also need enthusiasm. We need helping hands. We need people who will show up to do the work that our values really insist on us doing. So I call on you to do that. We really can be more ambitious. We can be more of who we want to be and who we need to be. So I'm going to ask you to vote yes on this budget. I hope that we end the year of 2025 in much better shape than we are right now, that we have come forth with time, talent, treasure, and produced a better Live Oak than we already are. Let me ask for questions first before we move on to voting. And we need microphone, or no one will get you on the
It's coming.
live stream.
Check, check. So I've been a member at Live Oak for just a couple of years now. I know many of you have been here longer, and so I'm curious, in previous years, has there ever been a year where we generated a surplus, and how was that surplus used?
Someone who's been here longer than me will have to say. Mike, can you help us with that?
I never have seen us run a surplus. Don't worry, we can find a way to spend it.
I'm a little bit of a numbers-driven person, and just to kind of put a pencil to it, from what you were saying, the $17,000 deficit that's expected next year, we have 176 members. You divide that by 176 people, and then divide that again by 12. My numbers say the average member needs to give another $8.05 a month to help us hit that goal. And that is a very doable thing, I think, for most people, maybe not everyone, but the majority of people here, I think, can handle that kind of thing. And so it's a very reasonable ask, I think.
It is a reasonable ask, and it is reasonable to ask for more. That's the point I'm trying to make. Not everyone can do it, but many of us can. And
I think you need to repeat for the live stream or that person.
oh, he didn't have the mic. Okay, I'm sorry, Reverend Joanna.
So we have had years where we had a surplus, and that was simply added into our reserves. What that means is we have a goal of trying to have being ahead by 2 or 3 months, so that when there are things that happen, it's covered by that. So that's what happened with that. But wouldn't it be great to have such a surplus that we could say, we want to do something special with this?
Yeah. And sorry, guys, we couldn't find the second mic. That's why we're making Bill run around.
Since you opened the door on our outreach programs, there's one that you didn't mention. I want to put in a plug for it, and it's called Share the Plate. And a couple of years ago, what we did was we reoriented recipients to be organizations where our members are already actively volunteering. And so it really compounds their volunteer efforts. And the emphasis also is on share. The church does get some money. So part of that other income is money from Share the Plate. If you put a $20 bill in the basket, 10 goes to the organization, 10 goes to the church. So another fantastic, and last thing, if you are a volunteer and haven't told us, please let Mark or me know so that we can put you on the schedule for your organization being a recipient for Share the Plate.
Okay. I do want to clarify, I'm not close enough? Okay. I do want to clarify that because we've been befuddled by the number of pledges that are not paid at all or are paid only partially, we're rolling up to the end of this year with, we've gotten in 40%, 50%, 60% of what that pledge was for this year. We do want to make sure that everyone's understanding that when you put money in the basket, you need to designate what it's for. And Share the Plate is a separate thing, as John's explained, and does not go toward your pledge. So and the envelopes give you an option to explain what it's for. We've even had instances where people are putting money into the basket without any designation and thinking that it's going toward their pledge. We don't have any way of knowing that that money came from you if it's just cash in the basket. So keep that in mind, that we kind of have bookkeeping issues in which we need to keep straight all of these things. Luke has a question, but I don't know where the mic is.
It's going to go to Jenna. No, wait. Hold on 1 second. It'll go to Jenna and then Luke.
Okay, so my question is, when we got here like right on time today and the parking lot was packed, if we grow by the predicted amount of members, what are we going to do about parking?
Oh gosh, that will be a great problem to have.
We have a lot of land around the back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. So if we grow, We won't get into all the details, but this is something that we have had this happen before, so we do have some experience with this. There are other ways, yes, that we can park. We can use the daycare. We can park on the street. At some point, not anytime soon, but at some point, we will go to 2 services again. And thank you, by the way, to everyone who saw my message and has begun sitting in the wings here on Sunday to make this open area more inviting to our visitors.
Yeah, once upon a time, there were 2 services here. And I don't know if you were here then or not, but.
So one aspect of the befuddlement was last year there was a request for increases. We bumped our contributions for our family, notably. It didn't actually get updated on the statements though, and we didn't notice until like 8 months later. And I just reviewed the email from Barbara, and we're a chunk of change that we'll square up on. But that might be part of the confusion of how we ended up where we're at budget-wise. No need to be defensive or anything, and I don't mean it critically, but that just to help with some of the confusion.
Yeah. And we're also a work in progress. Throughout this year, we've tried to, we have to be careful, and we want to be cautious, and we want to be thoughtful in finding out why people have not been able to pay a pledge or just forgot to pay a pledge or whatever. We always try to tell people that get in touch with any of us, on stewardship or Diane, if you'd rather deal with her. These things are kept confidential if you need to adjust your pledge. But it is what we count on when we're looking at what we're going to spend. And so when they don't come in, we roll to the end of the year already behind a little bit. But that's good to know, Luke. We've been tweaking those forms and trying to look at what more information we need to give. And that's a good point. We'll look at that in January.
Yeah, because my intent was totally to just hey, update my auto payment for me, please. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't notice it for quite some time.
Right. Communication back and forth about these things is critical.
Well, and for what it's worth, I was going to add the donate button. I think is going to help because when we were trying to become members, we had a whale of a time trying to figure out where to make a pledge. So
yeah, we have become increasingly aware of how frustrating that's been.
I have a question about what exactly we're voting for when we vote on the budget, because me and some of the other youth are kind of confused on what our vote is meaning.
The vote is to approve this budget for the church to use to operate in 2025.
Okay.
Yes. And I've broken it down by the broad category of missions and building.
I wanted to know, has the church explored writing grants? Are you eligible to receive grant money?
Someone else can probably answer that better than me. There are a lot of grants that are not available to churches. But someone else has looked into that. Well, Reverend Joanna may be able to. The security grant. Yeah, we did just get a security grant, which was huge. And has made a lot of improvements for security in the building. And certainly anyone who's aware of a grant that we might qualify for, absolutely, that'd be great, yeah.
I was just going to say that there are grants that have been applied for special projects. I remember we tried to get a grant to pay for sign language interpreters, and we're not able to. But as the church as a whole, no, not really. Projects, yes.
Betty's had her hand up. And Linda.
I just wanted to say thank you for coming up with the annual cost per member for the mission. It's something when I was on the board that I brought up to them, and they had not even ever considered doing that. It's just. It points out just exactly what we need to do on an average, and there are those who can't come up with $1,800 a year, and I understand that. But there are plenty of us who can come up with a lot more than that. And maybe we need to rethink our own way of doing our pledges.
Absolutely. I think that one thing that's useful, and the reason we have included that figure last year and this year, is because we're not always sure that members, I grew up in a Southern Baptist church where we tithe 10% of our income. UUA asks that Unitarians tithe 5% of their income. And I've tried to find an exact list, and in the time that I had, I didn't find it. But traditionally, and I've been a UU for decades, UUs are some of the most frugal givers. And that really drives me nuts because it is so contrary to our values. And it makes me feel ashamed in the way that, good liberals should when we see the things we say versus the things we do. And so this is just helpful. People, if I shoot $100 to some organization that I'm not deeply involved in, I like, oh, all right, I gave them $100, But to run this church and to be a member of this church involves a real calling of time and commitment, and to the degree that you can afford it, contributions for us to operate the church. Betty, did you ever get the microphone?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did, yay!
But I wouldn't interrupt a stewardship testimonial like that.
My plaintiff beg.
I just have a question, just to put it in context. What is the unrestricted reserves of the church? What's the magnitude of that?
At this moment?
Approximately.
Oh, probably about 2 months worth, Reverend Joe. Let me look. Let me see if, I don't know if I can get to that immediately, but it was either 2.5 months. Is that what I saw in the last financial statement?
That's close.
Close? Okay.
Tracy?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not speaking to the budget.
No, I know.
Actually, I just want to know if we're going to have online vote.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Why don't you ask the question so the people online?
Oh, okay.
Hello, lovely online people. I'd like to know if we're doing online voting today.
Yes.
When's
Yeah.
the deadline for people to?
Uh,
I know you're not there yet.
So down goes up? Yep. Okay. Here we go. This is what we're going to deal with. But we have a few more questions, so let's get those dealt with. Don.
Currently, there's 2 steps to making pledge. One is making the pledge, and the other is paying the pledge. And you have to do both individually and separately. It would be nice if we had some mechanism that would allow you to give a pledge online and make your payments to the pledge. But currently, I don't believe there's any way to make a pledge online. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we have to.
We will be having an online form for you to fill out.
But currently I don't believe we have that in place.
Yeah, you can.
I've tried it and was not successful. I ended up sending email to Diane, with my pledge, and that works well, but it would really be nice if it was easy to do it online.
Don, that's a really good point. We know that we have really struggled this year, and some people, Tim, Wayne, Joel, I'm missing some other people, have been working hours and hours to try to fix this whole donation circuit. I do want to remind people that we've even had pledgers who pledged a certain amount of money and somehow thought that we were automatically taking that. We can't take money from you, if only we could. But we are not allowed to go into your bank accounts or access your credit cards unless you want to let me know. But that's why I'm saying it's sounds weird, but there just is a lot of room for misunderstanding. And we are aware of it, and we're trying to get that stuff straightened out. I'm sorry, I probably just screwed
There's
up.
one other way to pay your pledge. The stock market has been really strong this year, and if you have appreciated stock, there are two ways you can do it. You could sell the stock, pay the tax on it, and give the money to the church. But much better, the church has a brokerage account. You can have the stock transferred to the church. You get full value of the stock as a contribution, which you can deduct on your taxes. So it's something definitely worth considering, and if you have a question, there are a number of people who can tell you how to do it.
How to do it, yes. I also want to mention, if you're as old as me, and maybe everyone knows this, but just to make sure, when you got that 401k and you get to a certain age, which they keep dickering with, but I think is it 71 and a half or 72 and a half? Yeah, it's called required minimum distribution. You've got to start taking that money out of your 401k, and the government is wanting finally to get the taxes that you deferred for all those years. You can put that directly, you can have your required minimum distribution sent to this church, and you will not have to pay taxes on it.
We'll go Jess, Joel, David.
Okay.
Is there any way to do Venmo at here or online?
We're working on it.
Okay.
It's already been applied for. We have a PayPal account already, and PayPal owns Venmo. It's just a process. So
Okay.
Diane's been working on that so that we can get it all updated into the stewardship stuff.
Okay. And if we have the PayPal now so that we could just do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, that would
Yeah,
be really
and
helpful.
you can reach out to Diane if you
Okay.
want to do it right now. We're just not ready to put it onto the
Got it.
website yet.
Okay.
But it's set up.
That, or I was going to say saving, because I have to enter in my thing every Sunday if I do it on Sundays. I have to always re-enter my credit cards, and sometimes I look like I'm playing on my phone, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm paying attention. So
Yeah.
just having that, I think, would be so much easier for people
Yep.
when it's like a scan and go type thing.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing, which I think I'm going to be volunteering myself for by asking this, do we have a social media Instagram specific? Because a lot of people under the age of 40 are only on Insta, and they're like, oh, send me the flyer for it on Instagram. I'm like, I think the last time we posted was 22. So is that?
I don't know who has access to that account. I
would be
I only
willing to
have
help with
access
that,
to
because I think
Facebook.
that would be a push for new members too.
We can figure that out.
Like, I tagged us in it, you know,
Yeah.
yesterday, but it didn't get reshared because I'm like, I don't know who's the
Yeah.
moderator. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'll work that out. Thanks, Jess.
Just to clarify, you can do automatic recurring monthly payments on the website.
Yeah.
So just in case that wasn't super clear, you definitely can. So.
And we will be asking, highly recommending in January that you set up automatic monthly payments, because we have automatic monthly bills that we have to pay. And so it's the easiest way. You will find that you don't feel the pain nearly as much as having to remember every month, or forgetting, and suddenly, you know, we're badgering you in October.
So I just wanted to provide some information about the financial commitment and your financial commitment form. It's on the website. If you look into the website, there is a financial commitment website. There's actually FAQs that tell you, and the form is actually on the top of that webpage, so you can click on the form and fill in your financial commitment. But all the information about stock donations and all that is on that form. One plug for the stock donation, great suggestion. I do that every year. You actually get a double tax benefit for that, because you get a tax benefit because you don't have to pay you know, you don't have to pay the earnings on that as well. You just transfer the stock. And on top of that, you get, that's tax deductible from your, when you file your taxes as well. So there's kind of like a double bonus as well.
One of the things that we're doing or toying with a little bit in exploring membership classes, and as you saw, we're getting more and more people coming through. We're trying to clarify as gently as we can the part about the financial commitment. It is one of the 4 requirements for membership. But in a case where you're in exploring membership and you don't even know yet whether you're going to, you know, become a member or go forward, we don't want to hit them too hard with that. But we're trying to clarify in the messaging little things like, here's a tip: if you're going to put a check, personal check, or donate your money in cash, make sure you use the envelopes and be very clear about that.
Yeah.
That's one step.
Mm-hmm.
But to go really hard on the, hey, you know, I think the other thing we added was we are now requiring people to, your financial commitment does not roll over at the end of the year automatically now. So we're trying to get that clarified as well. So any ideas that we could use in exploring membership will be useful.
Okay, one thing that we, well, 2 final things. If there have been mix-ups, and it sounds like sometimes there were, and you are confused about your pledge for this year, it was done differently last year, in which we picked up the pledge from 2023. It was well publicized, and so if you're confused about that, you should have been getting these notices from Barbara throughout the year anyway. But if you have any confusion about it, Diane can update you. If there has been confusion and that's led you to not fulfill that pledge for this year, and you can make up part of it, it will really help us finish up the year in better shape, and we would appreciate it very much. Any other questions? I know a lot of people had plans today and needed to get out in a hurry, and you can vote right now. Well, actually, I'll let Crystal, who's the real brains of this operation this week, fill you in. We also have paper ballots. Board members can get them to you with a pen. If you want to fill that out, make sure you fill it out and remember to turn it in. Thanks.
So like Becky said, our paper ballots are here, so if you don't have technology or it would be easier, you absolutely can grab a paper ballot. We're taking online votes through December 21st. And each member, so if there are multiple in the household, please make sure that each person is able to access this voting form. And it's just liveoakuu.org/voting, or you can scan the QR code. And I think that concludes our meeting for today. Thank you all so much for coming, for sharing, and for listening. Was that all?